Okay, so we're doing our recorded session here. I've got Laurent and Ricardo with me, and we're going to go through questions. We've got actually a lot of interest in the business side of Wakanda as well, so we're going to be covering a lot of strategy questions, business issues, and it should be a real interesting talk. So let's get right into it, and we're going to take live questions after the video, so stay tuned for that as well. Bill will explain how to do that. So let's start with Laurent. That's people interested in knowing what the target customer for Wakanda is. Is it, they've asked, are you gearing it towards professional programmers? Are you gearing it more towards new people? What exactly is your target market with Wakanda?
So the target market is intended for professional applications. So yes, we aim for professional developers, and the idea is that we provide a very strong and robust server which handle data modeling and allow you to build all your business rules, all your business application. But then we understand that also it could be very useful to help people that come into Wakanda. So we provide the studio, which is a great help actually, where you can automatically draw your HTML page. You can it will help you design your model. It is not a necessity. You can do everything. You can do your page, your web page, using any kind of other development or text editor and so on. But the idea is really to aim at professional developer to have a...
Yeah. So I remember when we had talked once, and you'd said you actually started with the server first, and the way you interacted it while you were developing it had nothing to do with Studio. So Studio is more of in my understanding, a tool that helps maybe less experienced developers become more capable. And,
exactly, yes.
But on the same hand, I know with a lot of the things you've been doing as far as creating the model in JavaScript, etc., you're also making it a tool for, say, more effectiveness for experienced people.
Exactly. Well, once a lot of seasoned developer with JavaScript or other language like PHP and so on are, or even other languages, are used to build their project the way they want, deciding how to write their code. So Studio, in one way, is an help, and it kind of force you to do things in certain way, which is not what some developer may want. Very experienced developer want to choose the way they write their code and so on. So they can just use for example, the DDL language to create their with JavaScript to create their model,
yeah.
And they don't need the studio to do that, or they can do their HTML page using any kind of text editor if they want to read in text, or even any other kind of HTML editor, and then they can put the tags corresponding to our widget inside their page and so on.
So is it fair to say that the technology behind Wakanda, the server and the framework, are designed primarily for performance, and Studio is a layer on top that makes it easier or more efficient? Would you divide it that way?
Totally, yes.
Okay.
Completely, yes.
Okay, I think that covers that. So Ricardo, we've got a lot of people have been talking about the bug reporting system. They think it's bloated, maybe a little cluttered, and a lot of people are wondering if you have any plans in the near term to fix or improve the bug reporting process.
Right. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Greg, for hosting us here. Bugs are a big part of any huge system, and our perspective on treating these bugs are being completely relooked and reorganized. Just to give you an idea, I have statistics right now that show that For example, in September, we treated about 40 bugs, and we already, in January, increased this number more than 60%. So we treated more than 65 bugs this month of January. So there is a big concern in the company to start to look bugs in a much more professional way. We want to completely reduce the number of bugs. But when you look bugs in such a complex solution as Wakanda, our concern is not just fix the old bugs, but it's to create less bugs as well. We want to completely change the development process to create even less bugs that we have. Just to say, we don't have a situation that we have too many bugs at this moment. We have a number that is manageable, and we are going to attack right away. We think that the community at this moment want us to direct access this topic, this subject, and give them an answer that will fix this discussion in a way that they have a better, clear vision of what's going on. We're studying internally a way to represent that to the clients. We're not sure yet the most effective way to present that in terms of if it should be in a website or it should be in some sort of tool. We use an internal tool to manage bugs, and we would love to have that tool an opening to outside that we can communicate. So further studies in this area are going to be our focus as well.
Right. So I know we had talked we talked a bit about you've made significant changes in sort of the underlying part of the topic of bugs in general, which is the development cycle. And so maybe would it be fair to say that you're first fixing the actual hands-on systems of fixing bugs, and that the client communication part will be sort of the icing on top of the cake? Would that be a fair assessment?
That'll be very fair. Yeah. That would be the because as a modern company, you have to see bugs as not just to fix them, but to understand them and to fix the root cause of the bug. So you don't have that
right.
bug
So you don't have them in the beginning, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's it is in the mentality and the consciousness of the whole team right now that's the procedure to be taken. So that's our way forward.
And you've already done a ton of work. Like these new systems you've done a ton of work already establishing those, from what I understand.
Exactly.
But of course, you talked to me about continuous improvement is also part of the system.
Exactly. Yeah. Continuous. Well, the development cycle is being changed to implement some agile and lean technologies at this moment.
Okay.
So, which means that it's not just that we are going to be able to create software in a more effective and fast pace, but also that bugs are treated and the quality is in the development software already.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't let the bug happen at the end.
Yeah.
And systematically we treat bugs as in a way that to understand the root cause and to fix them. And
now there's always a delay. I know, just speaking on behalf of the community members I've talked to, everyone wants to know, when will we see results? And I know there's always a delay between implementation and when it becomes something that someone that's using the product would notice. What do you think? Is Wakanda 4 going to be a big representation of these? Will it be delayed by a little bit? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I arrived about 1 month before Wakanda 4.
Okay.
So the change that we're implementing right now it's gonna be very hard to see them clearly in Wakanda 4.
Yeah. Okay? So Wakanda 4 will be what it looks like, a great update, but maybe not reflective of these new systems.
Not yet.
Okay.
Yes, not yet. But we are aimed for Wakanda 5 already to have a way more for the community, especially to feel that in Wakanda 5 we're gonna have this end result of all the process that we are creating internally.
Okay. Now, as far as something tangible, is there a feature in Wakanda 4 that you've had success with that this new process
work
through?
Yes, that's interesting because we decide that Wakanda 4. It will be hard to implement the whole Wakanda 4 and the whole and the new system. But we spotted out. We said let's try some of the features and see what we could do. And for example, we have one right now that it was made in the new cycle, which is the snap to grid. That I will be glad to see what the community is going to think about that after the release.
Okay, so snap 2. All right. Well, that's good. So you've been through the cycle more than once, I presume, by now, and you're happy with the progress that you've been making, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Good. I've got another question for you.
Sure.
Another question near and dear to your heart. I'm sure it's the features roadmap. One of the things from any community is always going to be about when are we going to see new features and what features are we going to see. Right now, and I think most people would agree, it's a relatively static process right now. Do you have any specific improvement ideas or changes in that respect?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is dear to my heart as well, because let me tell you, without a roadmap, I cannot operate.
Right.
So it will be just a matter of us communicating better this roadmap to the community. We already started some few actions towards that direction. So I engaged the community in the forum to talk about, for example, widgets, which it's something that I believe that we are going to tackle right away. So it's going to be part of Wakanda 5, a major release in terms of widgets. But to clarify the roadmap, we need to establish very well with the community their suggestions, okay, and show that in our website and in some ways. We are thinking about at this moment to completely reorganize our website. And that's going to be part of my job to make sure that roadmaps are there. They're going to be meaningful and they're going to be clearly showing what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what I like a lot, the idea that I like a lot is to make the community participate in our development cycle.
Okay.
So that doesn't show the roadmap clearly, but if the community knows exactly what we are working on it, at least they know the next release.
Right.
That's very important.
Yeah.
That's very important because that's the immediately actions that they have to do to organize themselves to answer that type of question. So we are starting Wakanda 5 in that way that when we have a feature that's clear to us, we're gonna share that with the community and see if they have even more things to add and to participate.
Okay, so a communication mechanism of some type.
Yes.
Because it sounds like this is probably something you just said it's going to work into your development cycle and it'll just be a seamless type of thing rather than someone manually adjusting this roadmap every
Absolutely.
So often.
And you have to think it is a sustainable practice to just involve the person that is going to be using through the process.
Yeah.
So it's an agile, a lean type of mentality that I showed to them and I made them. We want the community to participate in a way that they see that they are important, which they are.
Yeah.
And we have a better product at the end.
Yeah. So. Now, what are your thoughts on, as far as very short term? Are there any sort of quick and easy improvements you could make in the short term before this formal process comes out? Like I know right now it's just a static page.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a possibility that might just become more frequently updated versus once every 6 months, maybe up the pace a bit? Or do you think you'll have this more proper system in place and make that not worthwhile?
Yes. At this moment, I'm studying a way of connecting our tool, our internal tool that we use to provide that information automatically in the website. So this is on the way. Okay. And we are going to try as much as we can to update this new website and this new way of showing it.
So you're actively right now investigating.
Yes, I hope Wakanda 5 is going to already show that in some in a more clear way to the community.
Okay, great. And I know that this was obviously a big part of your role. Laurent, how are you feeling about progress as far as team changes recently, and like, are you feeling positive about the whole thing?
Very positive. Yes, we. It took us time, but we finally found the right people.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're very confident that now the project is back on track, and with a very, very healthy team and development, working
Process.
Process. Yes, process. That's the word. Sorry.
Okay.
And
so Laurent, had a few people say, they're interested in knowing Wakanda as a project. Is it healthy? Can they trust putting their learning time, the investment of their learning time in it? I think more than anything, the essence of it is they're looking for, your commitment level. What are your thoughts on that?
I completely understand the question. It's one question I would ask myself if I was using a tool. And our commitment to Wakanda is really 100% right now. We work as much as we can. I mean, we put all our energy into it. We have been fixing bugs, thinking of the future, and implementing slowly an architecture that is very stable, very strong, to allow for future improvement and so on. So yeah, we plan to be there for quite a long time.
Yeah, like I know when I was talking to you, you sort of mentioned that we took all the effort to get this far. Now we're just in the part where it's going to get fun, right? Because there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be done. Right?
Exactly, a lot of internal modification, a lot of internal structural and architectural changes that required some time. And
yeah, okay. So,
can I have an add on this on this answer, and then we can.
No, go ahead. People want to hear from you guys, so feel free to jump in anytime.
When I came to a month ago to work for Wakanda, I looked at the company and I saw that we are a database company that has 25 years experience.
Right.
And that says a lot.
Sure, it does.
That says a lot. It's not like a new player that's just came through the wave and is trying to surf some.
No, that's a lot of history for a technology company, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And a successful history in so many ways. So just add that to someone that is looking, that is like, oh, should I put my effort in Wakanda? I would say definitely. Yeah. It is a tech. It is the success of many small parts that combined make this product so interesting. It's JavaScript going to a point that everybody's become the standard of the standards.
Yeah.
Okay. It's coming from a database company and is showing you a database level that is incredible.
Yeah.
So if you are a person trying to develop serious applications and business applications that are going to manipulate a lot of data, and you want to be in a language, in an environment that has been proved to be the standard at this moment,
yeah. Okay. So what I'm hearing is the commitments there. Come in, evaluate the tool, and if the tool fits you, go for it. But don't concern yourself about the health of the project. It's there for good.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay. So piggybacking on that topic, obviously, profit is a big part of longevity, right? So there's never really, other than the Warrior subscription, there's never really been any mention of how you plan on making money. A lot of people are interested in learning, what are your plans for turning a profit at some point?
Oh, but we don't want to make any profit. We just do it for the fun of it. No, sorry. No. Real answer now. No, we definitely want to make profit, of course, with the product, and that's how it should be if we want to actually be able to continue working on it. Even though there's a community that starts to be doing some work, and that's the idea of an open source project. We want the community to work on the project, so there will always be a core project that will be available and modifiable by anybody in the community. We plan to do hosting, and that is a big part of a revenue stream. I mean, we also plan to have enterprise specific features which are towards large accounts, when they have some special features.
So
that
large companies with maybe an IT team or something like that.
Exactly. So, and we also plan for support, to have premium support that will be and trainings. And, So yes, we have a plan in mind to.
So just a little bit further on that. So hosting, you mentioned. I know I've been one person that's really interested in that. I'm glad to hear that. I guess what people probably are interested in, your commitment to the free tier. I guess is your commitment to, like right now, it's quite functional. You can do an awful lot with the free product. Is that your commitment going forward, or you plan on doing like a freemium type that's somewhat capable, but you?
No. The commitment is full on keeping the core product as it is, fully functional, usable, and building a real application with the free product. So we won't change that, so that people can really use it without any fear of being taken up. I don't know the word, but to be
sort of forced to spend money to be functional. So someone would be able to walk up to Wakanda, use the free product, and actually build something that's worthwhile.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's good. So Ricardo, you put a post in the forum about. Oh, sorry. I've got one question here. I was out of order here. So some people have been talking about the possibility of using third-party widget sets, and specifically, one person asks, "What do you see as the major parts that either you lose or benefit? What are the benefits of using native widgets versus third-party, and what's your opinion of third-party? That whole topic. What would you share with us on that?"
Right. We started a post in the forum asking the community what are their thoughts, and I think this is related because the widget have been minimal in recent months. The work around widgets, and since the community started to be interested in third party, that signalized to our company that the widgets was a sensitive thing, and they were not happy about what we have at this moment.
Right.
Okay. So that's a big signal to us. But I want to make clear to the community that we are not understanding this signal from you and saying that we're going to trash our widgets and we are going to go for a third party. Okay, so let's make clear. Our intent is to make our widgets extremely powerful and extremely interesting to the community, because it's the widget that gives you the access to the whole power of the solution as well, because it connects so easily and so elegant to the data sources.
Right. Okay? You have the more tight integration.
Exactly. So this is a very important point for us, and as I put it in the post in the forum, and I strongly recommend anybody to go and check it out, is that it's going to be my personal commitment, to fix completely the widgets. I want to make them in a way that they are very easily. If someone wants to write a widget in Wakanda, he can do that easily, and he was going to feel that he's protected. So the widget's not going to break easily either.
Oh, so the core infrastructure underneath, you're going to make sure it's consistent and will be there going down the road and not.
Exactly. So writing widgets and fixing the widgets that we have right now are a big, major priority. Said that, I do believe as well that we need to support third-party widgets.
I fully agree.
Yeah.
We need to support them.
So you want to maintain the choice, but you're going to improve your offering drastically. Like I know that when we looked at the forum post, you've said that's pretty much one of the probably the number one focus.
It is my number one focus, right?
Yeah. So what you're saying is you want to support third-party widgets,
yeah.
but you're going to be a much more compelling option going forward, not only because of the tight integration, but also you're going to stack up just straight out more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to add that I fully agree with what Ricardo said, but yeah, it is quite important to still be able to support third-party widgets because there are thousands of, we will never be able to make as many widgets as there exist on the web community. I mean, there are a lot of different kind of widgets. Just using jQuery UI, there are hundreds of widgets that were made by people, as extension to jQuery UI for some particular purpose and so on. And our goal with Wakanda is to be as open as possible to any kind of other widget, so that we are even modifying the way our framework behaves to be less monolithic, to be more modular, to support much easier in an easier way outside widgets, third-party widgets, because it's quite important.
Yeah, no, and that's good to hear. So I guess there's two things that I'm hearing that are quite interesting to me. Is thus far I've been a big user of the native widgets because I really enjoy the automatic data integration, etc. Is how are you going to communicate building your own widgets? Is there going to be some specific training, or how are we going to bring people up? Like, because you're saying here, Laurent, the community is a big source of widgets. And if we can train people how to bring more widgets to the Wakanda widget set, so how are we going? Is there going to be some training available for that?
All right. So let's think about the third-party widgets as something that, first of all, the Wakanda is a huge solution. We are not a widget specific.
Right. It's a part of what you do. Yeah.
It's part. So then support companies that are professionally doing widgets all the time. It's in our benefit. We want to do that.
Right.
But we want to do in a way that the widgets, they are integrated to our data source in a way that simulates our own widget functionality. We want to make it clear to the community that we need the layers, and maybe the community can help us as well to write those layers to make this communication. What we need to do is to make clear that they know what they need to do to integrate this widget.
Okay, so you're talking about more easily integrating into third-party libraries? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
so by improving this foundation, that's going to be more easily accomplished.
Exactly.
But also, I guess by turn of that as well, you would also be able to develop Wakanda widgets more easily as well.
Yes.
So what you're doing is you're creating a development platform.
Yeah, and we will provide some documentation on how to create a widget.
Okay. So if someone was a fan of XYZ library, you're going to give them the tools to tie XYZ library and maybe write that layer themselves.
Exactly.
But
that's the
maybe it's a niche widget set that doesn't. Have you? I know you've got a ton of work with native widgets alone, but has there been any discussion about actually providing libraries for more popular widget sets, or is that something you're looking for the community to do?
I would love to. We already started. The community gave some good examples, like Sencha, like Dojo. There's some good examples. We would like to first of all create this layer where we can provide something to the community that understands how to connect the third-party widgets to our layer. And then after that, we need to discuss what are the widgets that are going to be coming in, or if we as a company are going to do an effort and do one of them, for example, and show and lead the way for others to develop. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but it will be too hard for us as a company to support all the widgets. We need the community participation in that issue.
Can't be reasonably expected to support every library. Like there's a lot of libraries out there.
Our job is to make clear that they understand what they need to do to integrate that widget.
Right. Okay. Well, we've got a couple. I guess I would classify them as more technical questions that we can go through some examples. So, Laurent's got his screen has been shared here all along. The first one that I'd like to pass by you is, can you show us an example of more advanced data grid functionality? Maybe specifically someone mentioned the on-row draw event would be a great example if you can go through something.
No problem. I can do that. So here is just a grid on a small on a table on a data class I've built, and I would like to change the way the Celery is drawn. Instead of being as just plain text as a number.
Yep.
I want a bar to represent the Celery. In my example, in my sample database, Celery may go up between 0 and 100,000.
Right.
So here in that particular example, on that grid, I have an on-row draw event, and here is what I have to do. So that is being called for each row to draw. So the event.row contains the row to draw. And
so as the grid's drawing, it's
exactly as the grid is drawing it, and the event.element contains the data of that needs to be drawn. So the values that need to be drawn.
Okay.
And so in my example, the third cell in actually the fourth, because it starts from 0, is the Celery. So I take a reference to that cell, and I can use so that cell contains already predefined properties, which contains DOM access for the outside of the cell and for the inside of the cell. So here I'm computing the width and the height of that cell. And if the Celery is not null, then I'm going to create a new div inside my cell that will be with a width that will be proportional to the Celery up to 100,000. So this is what I do. I use jQuery to create an empty div. Then I compute the width as being the Celery multiplied by the width and divided by 100,000. I take off 4 pixels because I want a margin of 2 pixels around my bar.
Okay.
And the 8 is also computed -4 to allow for the margin. So, and then also I want to show that in your cell you can also use data from other cells. So for example, if the edge is less than 40, I'll put the color of the bar in green. If it's more, I'll put it in red. And once I've built my whole cell, I just put it in the inside cell of my Celery cell. And so if I try this, here's the result. I now have my Celery being drawn as a bar instead of a number.
Right.
And it follows. So if I resize, of course, it's recomputed because the on-row draw is being called and the width is different. So because my computation is based on the width,
so on-row draw doesn't only fire when you scroll; it also fires when you modify the grid in any fashion.
Any fashion. So if I click on here and modify the Celery, for example, and I switch back somewhere else, then it's being redrawn, recomputed, and so on. So
yeah, cool. All right. Now, for anyone that's been around Wakanda for a while, and they've really dug into the grid, they've seen set renderer. Now, you described to me what the difference was, and what's your recommendations as far as set renderer and on-row draw?
Yes, set renderer was written before the on-row draw.
Okay.
So basically, the set renderer is more limited. It works only on a per cell basis. You can put a renderer for each cell, and when the renderer is being called, you don't have access to the values of the other columns, only the cell you want to draw. So you cannot make computation or condition based on values from somewhere else.
Yeah. So you'd say it's best practice to start with on-row draw. Are there any edge cases where set renderer or set renderer might be a better option?
Yeah, the only difference is that the renderer is being called in place of your drawing the cell. So when the on-row draw is being called, the actual line has been computed and generated in HTML already. So if you look at my code here, it does replace the content of the cell. That means the cell has been computed twice.
Okay.
It's not that big of a deal when it's only text, but it could be much faster just to go with the renderer if you know, because it's not going to do the computation twice.
So if there's something that's really compute intensive,
yeah,
then maybe you try it with if you're fine. I guess would it be safe to say that you try the on-row draw first?
Yes.
And if the performance is unacceptable, then maybe look at.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the idea.
Okay. Well, let's go right into another example. And this is, I figured since I'm here with you, I'll do one of my questions. I had questioned you about working with images prior to saving to the data store. To write directly to the data store, I had always thought, you have to save the entity first. And I know you've got a solution for that that's quite interesting. So let's go through that one.
Exactly. I'll show you that. So in that small example, I've built something very, very simple. I want to be able to create a new employee by just entering first name, last name, and salary. So and this part here is just to check if the result is all right. It's not necessary in my example. Okay, so
yeah.
it's just for as a result to see if everything happens is all right. So here is what I do. I created a local data source here, which is an object, and that will contain first name, last name, and salary, and I bind those different attributes to my input values, so that I don't have to use get the widget get value. It will be done automatically.
Yeah.
Then here I have a container, and inside that container I want to insert some specific HTML code because we don't have right now the widget that will do exactly what I want. So
okay.
This is one of the good things with the studio, is that it is not closed. You can just go to source code, and here inside my container, so I found my container by the name. Where is my? Sorry, I cannot lost my. Oh, there it is. Sorry. So my container is here, and I inserted this manually. Here's what I do. When you insert an input tag of type file, the browser is going to show you the option, usually through a button, or to select a picture from your
hard drive.
For your hard drive.
Yeah.
So I just make that the same size of my container, so 100% width, 100% height of the parent.
Okay.
And I call it my upload.
Yeah.
So now back to this. In that button here will do the work. So it will in the on click. Here's what I do. I look for the upload tag that I just inserted into my HTML, so it's there. And that tag will contain a property called files, which contain the list of files selected by the user. That's the browser.
The browser does that?
Yeah, that's part of HTML5. So I also create a form data. So a form data is also part of HTML5 possibilities, JavaScript inside a browser. And I append in that form the first name, last name, and salary, which come from my source here. Okay, so automatically. And if the user has at least selected a file, then this array is not empty, so the length is greater than 0. And I append the first picture that was selected by the user inside a photo attribute in my form.
Okay.
So keep in mind, a form is a kind of semi-binary object of HTML5, kind of hidden. And here I create an XML HTTP request. I open it and I want to post my form. I want to send my form to the server, and I will send it to upload picked, which is something as a Wakanda developer, I've created a request handler on the server to support that. So I'll show you how to do that.
So this post is going to include the images because you appended them up above.
Because this post here is going to include because I say send the form.
Yeah.
It will send the form, which will do all the multi-part job, which is usually quite complex, where you have some string that separate each part, and the picture is encoded in base64. All of this is done by the browser. You don't have to care about this. And I send the form, and in the onReady state change, I check if we are in ready state 4, which means that everything was sent.
Okay.
And we got back the answer. Everything is done. And then, so this is also part of native browser code.
Right.
Okay. And here, just for the sake of my demonstration, I then use a source employee, so data class source, to query based on the first name and last name I just entered. And this will redraw actually this will redraw my source here.
Right.
And the picture is also bound to employee.photo.
Okay.
So now server side, what is going on server side? In the bootstrap of my application script here. So I choose this file to be the active bootstrap. That means this is the file that is going to be launched, to be executed whenever the application is opened the first time.
Right.
So here I'm just using that so forget about this one. So here I'm just using that to put the request handler on upload pick.
So that upload pick is the sort of the match from where you submitted the form.
Exactly. That's exactly that. So the form is going to be sent to that function, upload handler, in that file script /upload handler.js, which is there. So that particular function is there. That function gets two parameters, the request and the response.
Mm-hmm.
And the request is what is being sent. And we automatically, Wakanda automatically handles a multi-part form and analyze each form and generate the right stuff for you. So here is what I do. I take the parts of the request, so that part of the form.
Okay. Yeah.
And I create a new employee on the server, so new employee. And I take the first name as being the first part, so it starts from 0, but the first part as text. Last name being the second part as text, salary also. And then if the number of parts is greater than 3, that means we send a picture also. I take the photo as being the last part as picture.
Okay.
This is all handled by Wakanda automatically, and I save my picture. That means that in one request to the server, I will save my entity and my picture at the same time, all in the entity.
Okay. So now those the as text, as picture, I'm not personally familiar with those. Is that in the documentation somewhere?
It is in the documentation of the request handler when you have multi-parts.
Okay.
Yes.
So that just, if I'm understanding right, that just specifies what format that data is coming back.
Exactly.
Okay.
Coming from.
So you can treat it as a picture as opposed to text, but there would be nothing stopping you from.
If I were using it as text, I would get the whole picture as a string base64 encoded.
Okay.
which would be quite huge here because the picture may be big.
Right, and not
but then
useful.
I would still be able to use it server side as a string. I mean, as base64 string, and I could. But,
right, but this formats it for you automatically, and
exactly,
I can just go stick it in a data store
exactly
attribute. Okay.
And here in my example, it's a kind of lazy example because I should, in the response body, I should send back some information. If I don't send anything, then the response is you get automatically the status 200, but usually you want to respond something.
Right. So I guess just for the benefit of people listening, where this came up as a question for me was, when you're dealing with a web application, the unique scenario is you don't know if someone's going to close their browser window, and you can't always intercept that like you might be able to do on a desktop browser. So I pose this question because, how do you handle something if you're first having to save an entity? So this is the solution for not needing to write to the database until you have all the information.
Exactly. And if we try this, so we will just enter anything. So I have no idea, so I'll just put silly values. Okay, and then I'll select a file. So there is a picture here, and I send it.
Right.
And then now it was sent to the server, and because I at the end I said I wanted to query based on first name and last name, it got back into my data source with the picture.
So that updated the data source, and there we go.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's a great example. I appreciate that. So we're going to do just a couple more business-related questions. Again, we're going to do a few live ones, but there was a ton of questions, so I apologize if we weren't able to get to yours. Okay, Ricardo. People are interested in the marketing strategy. How are you going to, as far as marketing, any big plans to how to bring a more vibrant community, really committed users that will help contribute?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Let's understand the moment that we have an internet that is a web environment that's about 15, 17 years old. It's a teenager yet.
Yeah.
Right? So we have in this environment, but is starting to show some maturity already, and we have complex and interesting applications being built.
Right.
In that scenario, Wakanda is a very unique product because in that scenario, data becomes a key central issue. Data that becomes information, that becomes knowledge and competitive advantage. There's no such a product out there that has this data-driven model as Wakanda. And what we are doing in terms of marketing strategy is to focus the company exactly on that perspective. We believe that the data-driven path is the path that the company is made for. We have 25 years old of experience in database.
Right.
Our solution created something incredibly easy to manipulate data from a studio perspective, from the server perspective. So if you are a startup right now, it's so appealing. So you have this server that it works beautifully with data. You can just put your idea there and grow because you are coming from a database company. If you grow tomorrow to 100,000 users, you have a database that's going to support your growth. For independent developers, it's so interesting because you can prototype very quick, and your prototype become your application. You don't need to switch after that.
Right.
Your application becomes the main thing. And for corporations, corporations understand data in a way that usually in a very advanced way, and that we are super appealing because the whole architecture is around data. So when you combine all that with one language, we are open source because we have both client and server with JavaScript. We have an open source that's very interesting. It's a open model that you can just jump in and you're gonna have full control of your future. So you have a long history in the company being there for you. this company has such a long history that is so connected to documentation. You look at the documentation right now in terms of Wakanda, that's very good.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find a product that has such a huge documentation, so updated. Every single version we are there. So, so all that, I think it's an incredible product.
Right. So your main message is data-driven web applications, and you feel that this is a very unique tool. Like really, I haven't either really found something that tackles that effectively, and that's where we're going to go with the message. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly that. So we have this powerful connection between client and server that nobody.
Okay. So yeah, no, I appreciate that. So we're running short on time here. Laurent, we've got one quick thing. Obviously, 4D developers are part of the culture. You've got a successful company there. People are interested in knowing, how does Wakanda fit into the career of a 4D developer? Is it a replacement? Is it going to affect the pace of 4D development? How does it fit in for someone who's primarily 4D based?
Yeah. So first, I want 4D developer to know that we're not abandoning 4D. We still work on 4D, and we're actually putting also a lot of new development effort on 4D, and the team is working on that. But so Wakanda is not a replacement for 4D, and never will be. I mean, we will keep working on 4D. There are areas where it's good to connect both of them. For example, Wakanda is really intended to build a business application where you can easily make forms and on a web page, and so it will be easier for a 4D developer to use Wakanda as a mean to write their web part of their 4D application.
Okay.
Usually in a large 4D application, you have a client-server architecture, you have running inside the company, and you start to have a few needs to expose some of it on a web page, or more than a few needs sometimes. And it could be good to use Wakanda for that part. But that doesn't mean you want to drop the whole business logic that was written with 4D, the hundreds, thousands of methods, or sometimes tens of thousands of methods that were written in 4D language.
Right.
So they will keep that running, and just use Wakanda that will automatically connect to the 4D database and make it look as if it was part of the Wakanda data class.
Right. Now, do you see Wakanda developers maybe also benefiting in the reverse, where maybe they're looking for a desktop application and they consider 4D?
That could be true. That could be true. Sometimes when you need just a plain desktop application,
So they're different products, and but they can complement each other in certain ways.
Exactly. We actually, what is true with 4D is true with a lot of other database. In Wakanda, we are slowly building a lot of connectors to different databases. So we started with 4D because that's the one we know the best, but we are right now working with MySQL and future other SQL databases like Oracle, Microsoft SQL, and so on, where you can seamlessly integrate your SQL structure into data classes and still work with the business logic of Wakanda and build your web page without actually knowing more than more than Wakanda.
Right. Okay, great. Well, that's our pre-prepared questions. I just want to say I really appreciate your guys' time, and I know the community is going to appreciate that as well. So with that, appreciate it. Thanks.